G'day listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Keeper League podcast. We're the AFL Fantasy podcast that doesn't talk about the superstars. We only talk about the less knowns and the players who are going to bring value to your draft and Keeper League teams. My name's Heff and today I'm joined by one of the founding members of the Pod. Welcome to the show, Lewy.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been what?
I haven't seen you since Gather Round, I don't think. So,
no,
but
yeah.
even Gather Round
for a marathon.
Yeah, true. I've been off the beers and stuff. But even Gather Round, you went a bit missing. You were having a big weekend, I think.
Yeah. I didn't get a lot of sleep that weekend. That was a really good weekend, but I'm probably in some respects still recovering from it.
I think we all are, mate. It's the biggest weekend of the year in Adelaide.
It is, yeah.
It's our Christmas, really. Like, we have to let loose in that weekend. But
we do get a lot of sport these days under Mally, but I think, Gather Round is like our grand final weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you, me, and Geordie bought tickets all together, but I reckon we saw the least of you the whole weekend because you were just socialising across town.
The footy was a little bit second to me. But,
absolutely, that's the whole point of it. But anyway, we won't keep talking about Gather Round because it is the greatest thing ever. And I feel like we just will never stop talking about it otherwise. But how are the Keeper League teams going? Last year you made a prelim in your home league. How are you going now this year?
Well, to be honest, I actually haven't paid a bunch of attention to my keepers this year.
Because you're going too well in Classic.
Yeah, I've been in the thick of it for Classic.
That's not what we like to hear.
But mate, some of the teams I've got, I don't even need to check them. I'll just change the captain each week and away we go.
Sometimes don't even need to change the captain. Too good. Well, the Hoofers are 3 from 3 yet again this week. So that's the Home League, the Dynasty League, and then the Shiva. In the Shiva, in fact, I reckon I was given a bit of shit. I was ridiculed on the Shiva Blast at the start of the year for losing my first 3 matches of the season. Now I'm sitting top 4, so in Div 24, the illustrious Div 24. So take that, Damon, and stick it up the you-know-where.
The start of the season always throws up some anomalies, I think. There's some players that are,
I just drafted heaps of injured players. Now they're all back. Now the Bont's back. Who else did I have? I had Flanders early on. I had Kerno. So now they're all back, even though Flanders sucks.
What do you do with Flanders?
Yeah, exactly. Get me 50 each week, but I know it's enough to get me over the line. Let's get stuck into the round review because we don't have a heap of time tonight. Amazing weekend of footy. They reckon it's one of the closest rounds going around, certainly this year. So
I watched just about every single game. It was fantastic. I couldn't believe it. And on that Sunday, my partner had to go out just as the North Melbourne-Brisbane game was starting. And, I'd watched, obviously, a couple of close games before that. And as she was leaving, I said, I'll watch this be a draw. It ended up coming true. I couldn't believe it. So.
Amazing. Well, we'll get to that one at the end. But let's go to Fremantle versus Collingwood. There's, again, preface this for the whole weekend. There's not a heap to talk about. Not a lot of stuff that I expected, or not a lot of stuff that's going to be long-term. But anyway, one thing that probably might be a bit more permanent is Corey Wagner. He's Fremantle's new tagger. Have you realised that?
Has he tagged anybody else other than Dacos?
He played a defensive role last week, so I don't think he had many CBAs. But last week he was just playing more accountable, and then this week he went in as a tagger as well on Dacos. So it looks like they're using him a little bit more. So last week he had 12 tackles, I think, as well on the back of playing that role too.
It was like 15 or 16 or something.
Yeah, maybe. It was huge. So
absolutely, he actually had more tackles than what Fremantle had scored points on the board. So,
yeah, well there you go.
If that's consistent going forward, that's certainly something we need to monitor in terms of probably some of the more effective players. I don't think that's going to be something that they deploy every single week. But, when you've got...
Well, it seemed to have come around with Hayden Young being injured though as well. So they kind of need that fourth person to go in there. Matt Johnson's the other guy, but he's not a great user.
Young was sort of playing that role as well through various periods. So, that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. I think Corey Wagner's probably... if he's going to tag, is probably going to do the full blanket tag, I think. Whereas maybe Hayden Young was a bit more win your own ball, but also be accountable for your opposition player. Yeah,
well, we've seen an 80 and a high 60s in this role. So a defender, if you need someone as your D7, D5, sorry, might be a decent option. Got a couple tip of the caps from Jamie Oliver and Bobby Hill just for kicking goals. I think 6 and 3 respectively. Harry Perryman is the ultimate tease, 82 points. Do you reckon he just got the bump with Pendle's out and it's not going to be happening too often?
I think so. It was Pendle's out, Jordan De Goey out.
I think he jumped from 0 to 9 CBAs this week. pick, I think it was.
Only 9?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, he's pretty much a defender then.
Yeah. The other thing is Tom Mitchell's playing VFL, got 3 minutes. And I know he's been up and down the last few weeks, but just the kind of way they've rejuvenated some of their older players this season, he might be another one to add to the pile, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they're all probably 85, 90 guys.
Yeah. Tom Mitchell's a bit flaky because he's a sub-risk a lot, but as a streamer, Collingwood play a lot of Thursday, Fridays. Probably will later on in the season, given that the fixture will be restructured and whatever. Could be a good little streamer M7 option because I reckon that's one of the harder positions to fill. So Tom Mitchell might be a waiver pickup for some coaches out there. Onto the St Kilda versus Carlton game on the Friday night. Ryan Burns had 99 points. He was one of your boys back in the day.
Way back in the day,
yeah. First game you were talking him up. Yeah. And he did well with that first game as well.
Yeah, he did.
Probably a tip of the cap. He's playing a bit more forward this year, and he was I think he's back up the ground a little bit more in this game, but probably not going to last.
No, I don't think so. Ross loves him, so he'll stay in that side. But I think he's a bit of a jack of all trades and master of none. Yeah,
I think so too. Darcy Wilson was halfback in this game. Do you know how long that's been going on? I haven't really noticed it, but seems to be scoring a bit nicer in that role.
I think it's been happening for a couple of weeks. I've kept a sort of loose eye on him and some of those disposal maps, and he has been floating back there. Whether or not that's just work rate or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, we do know that Nasiah Wanganeen-Malira is there, and then Jack Sinclair's sort of been thrown around a little bit.
Yeah, so has Naz, to be honest. He's been in the midfield a little bit.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Yeah.
So I think Ross is probably aiming for that versatility and being able to play multiple roles. And Darcy Wilson, I think, he's comes from some of the best sort of fitness stock that you can get in the AFL. So to see him pushing back defensively to help out doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah.
Moving on, Mitch Owens had 80 points. He was going into the ruck a little bit in this game, so when he plays as that extra midfielder, he can score a little bit better. Mateus Philippou had his first game back, 73 points. Return to the side. I think he'd be picked up in most leagues, but if he's somehow on your waivers, he's someone you need to jump on board.
Yep.
Bit more of a forward role in this game, but you think he moves into the midfield more as it goes on?
Yeah, I think that'll slowly decrease the forward time in the midfield.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly how I expected his return to go.
Yeah, it looks good too.
Yeah,
I thought it was a nice little return, and hopefully a bit of match fitness, and he can get into that midfield sooner rather than later.
Just another kind of note against St Kilda. Key defenders against St Kilda have been going okay because they do have a lack of kind of tall forward options up there. Obviously, King's out. They lost Membry this year. They've thrown another one back. I always get Caminiti and the other guy mixed up.
Caminiti was back in the forward line.
He was, yeah, he was. But they throw him around a little bit. So, yeah, I stream key defenders against St Kilda has been a bit of a thing over the weeks. So maybe have a look at that one.
I like Jack Silvani. If he's on the waivers, or if you can even pull a sort of cheap trade for him, because I think there's a bit of contract talk around that, and a few clubs are chasing him, so he's got a little bit of incentive there
forward this year as well. So if he can keep scoring okay, that might be handy. And Jackson Binns came back into the side. He had 76 points. He was ripping it up early. I've thought there's been a spot for him all year. I'm surprised it's taken this long to get him to the side because you see him play a whole variety of people on the wings. Lucas Campriale, then they've put Doc on there for a bit, and there's just been a variety. I feel like this is a pure winger. Akers obviously has one side kind of sewn up, but a pure winger who's scoring well each week, probably lacks the disposal a little bit, but looked good in this game. Do you reckon he's someone you'd pursue?
Probably not. It concerns me that he sort of had that spot. That's why I thought that Ollie Hollands was moved back so they could accommodate a Jackson Binns, and it didn't happen early.
Yeah.
So that worries me a little bit.
Hopefully he can just get a bit more of a run and show people what he can do from a fantasy perspective anyway. But yeah, hopefully he can hold his spot in the side. Moving on to Melbourne versus Hawthorn on the Saturday. This is Harvey Langford's best game by far, don't you reckon?
How good is he?
Yeah.
I didn't realise he had the overhead marking ability that he does.
We saw that when he went forward. Yeah, it was awesome. I don't really have much to say. I think he's just going to be a beast. I think that's kind of been known from his draft year, or from his draft crop, I guess, and all the reports and stuff like that. Do you reckon there's a world where they trade Oliver at the end of the season and just play Langford in midfield?
I think that's probably as good as done.
That's the plan.
But yeah.
Buy stocks now because they're only going upwards. Do you make much of Jud McVy's game? He's had 2 out of his 3 scores have been 70 pluses now. but last week he had a real low 30 odds. What do you think?
I think you have to sit up and take note, because those D's defenders do like chipping it around.
They chip around so much.
So
yeah,
wasn't the easiest matchup on the weekend with the Hawks. So I'm expecting a bit more of a bounce back there. He's pretty highly rated, Jud McVy, and Bowie's probably the great example where he did sort of tread water there for a couple of years and eventually did break through. I think Jud McVy defensively is fantastic. So, maybe there's an asterisk on whether or not they're going to let him be that sort of ball user. But if he ever does get that role, I can see him really excelling. And look, clearly he's doing well in both roles at the moment. So, nice little pick there.
At the back of the third quarter, there was still like 2 minutes to go, and they had well and truly begun milking the clock. So there was just chip around. Like it was amazing. I think he had 12, 13, probably 3 or 4 kick mark kind of spots just in that last 2 minutes alone to bump his score up. So that's what I like about all the Melbourne defenders. They'll pop from week to week, but McVy is one of their better like lockdown defenders. That's just the only thing that concerns me. That's all. But there's definitely potential there because he can use the footy as well. I think pretty much just echoing everything he said. Bowie has just come on so much this year, and he's a pretty good user of the ball as well. So it's kind of killed the hope for McVy.
He'll win their BNF, I reckon.
He'd go close, but it's probably I was really high on McVy earlier on in the season, but just didn't expect Bowie's rise, that's all. Onto the Hawthorn side of things. Warple had 130 points. He's a pretty inconsistent kind of guy, but I think he's going to be handy while Day is out, just picking up a bit of extra slack in the midfield. 10 tackles helped, and I reckon if they're playing in Darwin on Thursday night, it might be a bit slippery. There might be a few tackles to go around. So
yeah, you have to think so.
Or he might slip off them. I don't know how that actually works. But anyway, what do you think of Chankuth Jarth's role? I looked at his heat match pretty closely today. He was playing in defence earlier on, but then there was like people like Weddle playing back there and stuff like that. It was a bit more crowded. He did have one game where he played like on a wing, half forward, and he was sub for another game. So I looked at the scoring today. Effectively, every time he's played a half-back role, he's gone at least 60 or above, and now he's put back-to-back hundreds on the sheet. What do you think? Is he someone you'd be thinking out? I know there's a few classic people thinking about him because his break-even's pretty low. What do you think about Jarth? Can we trust him, or is it going to be just straight back down?
Well, I mean, that's the question, isn't it? Can we trust him? When Jarth's had the ball used through him in the past, even years ago, he was a nice scorer. So if that's going to remain consistent, then stock's up on Jarth, and I'd be buying some. But it's just Sam Mitchell. He's a very astute coach, and I think he's more than comfortable moving the magnets to suit the side that he's putting out on the day. So I think it might be a little bit of a roller coaster, but if the roll sticks, then I'd be a big fan of Jarth.
The one thing, like I will say, Richmond. Very easy side for defenders all round. That was who they played last week. Played Melbourne this week, who were the third easiest team for medium defenders as well. So it could just be some good matchups there as well. So I'd approach it with caution, but like I said last week on the Wave Wire podcast, if you wanted him, you had to pick him up last week because everyone was grabbing him. So he's probably gone in most leagues anyway, but if he's still there, I think he's worth picking up and just riding the roller coaster. Josh Ward's had 82 points. He's seen a good little bump since Nash has been out. Do you think he fades away a bit this weekend?
Yeah, I think he fades away a little bit.
He's going to be inconsistent anyway.
Once Mackenzie comes back into, I think Mackenzie's leapfrogged him there. So, it's coming to an end for him. And
what about Josh Weddle? Had 80 points this week. Do you reckon he'll ever be a consistent enough player to field each week?
I'm not sure in that Hawthorn side. I think in another side I could definitely make the case, but he seems to be there, Mr. Fixer, and why not? Athletically he can sort of do it all. So I sort of think he'll find more of a floor, which will bring him to more consistency. But in terms of where he lands each week is anyone's guess, I think.
All right, from here on in, we're going to move on to the Essendon versus Sydney game. I did not watch a lot of footy apart from 3/4 of the showdown before I just left early because I was bored.
That could have gone badly for you.
Well, I know. I'm just in a like a mood right now, like where I get the same joy if Port win or lose, which is just nothing. Like I don't feel anything. Yeah. It's really sad. Yeah, so like it started late, Mother's Day. My son had a soccer game 8 a.m. as well. So I was like, I was just tired. I was like, no, I'm just going to go home. Like, I'll just watch the rest of it on my phone on the train. So, from pretty much from there, like, I didn't watch much footy.
Traffic.
Yeah, exactly. There's 53 people. That's the other thing. Like, there's going to be that many people getting out there. So, just got out of there and, don't feel bad about it at all. Got a good night's sleep. Got up for soccer. Was good nick for Mother's Day. It was fine. Essendon versus Sydney. Will Setterfield is the first one on the list. Like, his scoring wise, he's too good for the podcast, but I said it'll die when Caldwell comes back into the side. Like, it didn't, but Caldwell will take a few weeks to get back to his best, I think, anyway. And he kind of plays that defensive role. I think he was on Heaney in this game. I reckon it was that Jordan, and he was on, I can't remember who he was on. But anyway, plays a kind of more of a defensive role anyway. What do you think about Will Setterfield? Can we trust him this kind of scoring, or will it come back to bite us?
Oh, it always comes back to bite you, doesn't it, with Will Setterfield?
Yep. I don't think there's been a season where it hasn't. I remember 2 seasons ago, picked him up first round of our top-up draft, and he was amazing for the first 4 weeks. And then,
I remember that.
See you later. After that, that's right. Dossie started him, I reckon, in Classic. Let's go on to Zach Reid. You would have had your eyeballs on him a fair bit. He's technically too good for the podcast now. But why is he scoring so well? He's just taking 70 marks. They're just freeing him up to play intercept.
No, he's an absolute gun.
Yeah, okay.
Like, he's taking the best defender more weeks than not. And because they love that chip in the defensive line, and teams are so regimented in terms of pushing up, he just sits back and gets those switch kicks. So not only is he beating his defender and taking plenty of intercept marks, he's actually getting involved in a lot of the loose ball as well. He's been fantastic. What a find for the Bombers after he's been fit. Yeah,
well, I'm glad I traded him out a couple of weeks ago because he's put up his 2 biggest scores since, so that's great. But anyway, I only care about my Keeper League anyway. Jackson Pryor is the next one, 115 points, just 14 marks as well. So there's a lot of chip around obviously going on back there.
This is one you just tip the hat to, and that's not going to happen again.
Yeah. See, what's strange about that though? He seems to be like more of the attacking type than Reid does. Reid seems to be that more taller guy.
No, I disagree. He's very much a defensive player, Jackson Pryor, and I've actually noticed that opposition players tend to play through him too.
Yeah.
Because he can sort of be exploited a bit. So
no, I'm more so thinking that like I just don't feel either of them are viable long term. That's all. But like I thought he would like. Reid's more of a key defender, like he's a bit taller. Like
I think I would be buying stocks in Zach Reid. I would describe him more as a Sicily, a Tom Stewart type than a key defender, and I think he's probably wasted if they're making him a key defender. I think they want to utilise his skills, and you've got a bloke in Jordan Ridley who can't stay on the park. I think Zach Reid, a little bit taller, probably a little bit more talented, can slot into that role nicely.
We've heard it here first. Nate Caddy's the other one. Tip of the cap to him. 3 goals, 94 points there.
He's going to be one, I think, as a forward. Yeah, I think he's an 85, 90 guy for his career once he gets running.
He's bucking a serious trend because no one is that at the moment.
No one's that at the moment, but
except
I think...
Except for Darcy, maybe.
Think sort of a taller Brian Myers. He's got the tank to push up high up the ground. I don't think he's afraid of a big moment. So I like Nate Caddy, and I'd be buying stock.
Yeah, definitely very talented. And then Todd Goldstein's here on the list. He's just going to be serviceable in the ruck if you need one. He went mid of our preseason draft for our first preseason pickup ad drop of the week. And scored 92 points on the weekend. I think he's had 2 good scores, 1 shit one. So, yeah, he's just serviceable as a backup ruck, which is what most people have him as at the moment. And Sardell Hawley got his first full game instead of being the sub, scored 82 points. Like, it was decent. Had a few moments with the ball use I saw from the bit I was watching on my phone on the train in. But yeah, what do you think? Is he any chance of playing a few consistent games, or is he always going to be that sub risk?
Oh, the injury list is starting to get pretty big down at the Bombers, isn't it? If he's slotted into that Harry Jones role on the wing, then I can see him potentially getting a month there. But yeah, I think the sub risk is probably one that's still a concern. I'd like to see how he goes this week. If he can back that up, 2 good games in a row, then I can see him avoiding the vest for a couple of weeks yet, just because they had a couple of debutants on the weekend. I'm not sure they're loving what Dylan Shearer's doing.
I think one got injured as well, didn't they? One did the ACL?
Yeah, ACL in his first game.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was, but his name was Hayes. Hayes, that's right.
Sam Hayes' brother.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think you mentioned that to me before.
I think Sam Hayes did an ACL himself a couple of years back. So
Yeah, that's right. The other thing was, I guess that was interesting in this game was Shields, the sub. Is he in danger, do you reckon? Of being dropped?
Shield?
Yeah.
Well, he was pretty good when he came on the ground, I thought. But he seems to be a little bit of a whipping boy with the fans, and now it seems with the coaches. So I think Dylan Shields is probably a pretty proud player, and he will be using that as motivation to get back into that 22.
What I'm just thinking is, like, started as a halfback and kind of got moved out of there, then got moved into the midfield, and that's when he actually started playing good football. But now they've got Caldwell back, they've got Setterfield going there, they got Sardis carving up the twos. Like, I feel like he might just be in trouble because it's not that he's awful. It's just that they might not find a spot for him in the role that they need him to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they've already got Andy Brayshaw doing hat kicks out of defensive 50, don't they? So they don't need two of them.
McGrath. Brayshaw. I was like, who are you talking about there? Yeah. Anyway, this game was very fantasy friendly for Essendon. There was only like the two good for the podcast players that went big for Sydney, so we don't need to talk about them too much. Didn't see a second of the Gold Coast Suns versus Western Bulldogs game, except I checked the scores at the end and it was way closer than what it was previously.
That was the one alongside the showdown, wasn't it? Yeah. I don't think anybody was watching that game.
Yeah, maybe some Victorians, but no, they put on that as the national game on the radio, which is annoying. I was talking to Aaron Bryans last week.
They would have on the TV too.
Yeah, if it was still on free to air, but yeah. I think KO have it all Saturdays now. Anyway.
Do you use K on the TV?
I have not watched Brian Taylor. I've not heard Brian Taylor's voice all season, and it's been incredible. But yeah, I only use KO. I only watch footy during KO.
I struggle with KO,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's terrible app.
It's terrible app.
I love it when I can get it working.
Commentary, it is a bit buggy, and it does, like, you do get dropped down to standard def or just cut the stream cuts out. But I'd rather take that than listen to BT talk. So
I don't mind listening to a bit of Kane Corns bait. To be honest,
I've had enough of it all. Bailey Humphrey's had 89 points. He's on the bubble for Too Good for the Podcast. He's had back-to-back good games. Do you think he's building some consistency?
Oh, you'd have to suggest so. Yeah, he's a young player, highly rated. I think he's going to find his feet in that side. So yeah, one that's probably coaches have been hanging on to for a little while, waiting for it to happen. And I think it's not too far away now.
I think he's going to probably have forward status next season again as well if he keeps playing the role that he has been from what I've seen anyway. So might be one to target if you're a rebuilding team. And then hopefully next year he can pop with the forward status. James O'Donnell, I'm just going to tip the cap to that. Took 11 marks. Doesn't really look like a fantasy type. And same with Riley West, kicked 2 goals and scored 83. They pop up from time to time. But yeah, probably not too much to write home about. On to the showdown, which was such a great game that I left. It actually was a really good game.
It was a great game. I wasn't expecting it to be close.
It was an absolutely great game. It's just that, I just did not care if we won or lost, and I was just like, I got other shit to do tomorrow, so I'm out. But anyway, Miles Bergman is the first one I want to talk about. 112 points. He was a back to the podcast candidate, the opposite of Too Good for the Podcast for any new listeners out there, because he'd been 50s, I reckon, 3 weeks in a row. Got swapped into the midfield, and it kind of makes sense because Rosie's kind of gone back there, and that was his demise when Rosie went to half back, being underutilised. Do you think he's going to get more midfield time consistently?
I think it was a tagging role.
Yeah,
with Jordan Dawson.
He was playing on him, but he still got a fair bit of the footy himself. Like, it wasn't like a tight tag. He scored 112 points on him.
Oh, it was relatively tight early, I thought.
Yeah,
so
it did keep him quiet.
I'm wondering if that's going to be a consistent move in that midfield. I mean, we've spoken for years now about that squeeze in the midfield between sort of Wines, Drew, Rosie, Butters, and Jason Horne-Francis.
Yeah,
I don't think that it's going to stick. But I'm happy to be proven wrong because we know he is a talent when he's gone in there in the past.
Yeah.
Despite what Mark Rashudo will tell you, that wasn't his first CBA on the weekend.
Yeah. Oh, that wasn't his first CBA. No, he did it round 1, I reckon. He was playing in midfield as well, so it wasn't even the first CBA for the year. But anyway, I think there's potential there because he's very likely going to leave at the end of the year. So if you can turn him into a star midfielder this season while Rosie's playing on the halfback flank, might be a bit of trade value.
Porter going to have anyone left at the end of the year?
Zach Butters is going too, apparently. So,
Isn't there another one too? Escapes me at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably. Just, jump off. Give us some draft picks back because we've got none to actually use because we traded them all away somehow with Dan Houston.
Soldo will go too.
Yeah, definitely. We won't get anything back for him. But yeah, we somehow managed to get less back for Houston than we got for him. But anyway. Ryan Burton's the other one. 86 points. Good game coming back from injury. Would you trust him at all?
I think he's a nice one to maybe do a bit of loop action or last defender on your field. He can pop them when they're there.
Yeah.
And we clearly like to use them, and he is pretty thirsty for the pills. So I think he's probably an 80 to 85 defender when he's in form. What
about moving on to the Crows? James Peatling. He's got 117 points. He's been the biggest beneficiary of Crouch being outright, and then also Draper being back in the twos. It's kind of like two midfield roles or one whole full-time midfield role and a part-time one kind of given all to him in the last few weeks.
And we're seeing probably what we expected to see at the start of the year if he was going to have that midfield role. We know that at the Giants, when he attended 60% CBAs, he was a 99 guy.
Yeah.
So obviously a slightly different side. They're scoring slightly differently. But if he can be that third stringer in that Crows midfield, just with the floor of tackles that, across his career he's clearly been able to establish, I think that in that role as a forward, he can probably go 90, 95, and I'm quite bullish on him, but I think that there's going to be an expiry date. I don't think Crouch is going to stay out of that side, and I don't think Sid Draper's going to sit in the twos for too much longer.
Nah, well, you got another month of Peatling scoring well, I reckon, at the same. But yeah, you're right. Sid Draper did have another reasonably good game. I think he had 24 touches or something like that.
24 and a goal.
Yeah, that's right.
Bad.
So yeah, and then Josh Worrell, I think he's too good for the podcast almost. He just scores 80 every second week. I think he's had 2 in a row now. So he'll probably get another one next week and make himself too good for the podcast. One I actually am not that surprised in, just looking at him during the preseason, how well he was playing. I wasn't surprised he actually was doing all right.
Back end of last year, it was quite good.
Correct. On to Richmond versus West Coast. Now, I was driving to Mother's Day and I missed the Jaden Short out. So you missed it completely. So just got to Mother's Day lunch and
it happens. I had Kyle Holmesy call me.
Yeah,
and
lucky.
I was at Mother's Day lunch. Yeah. And I hung up. I went, no, I can't talk to you right now. And then he called me again. I go, okay, hang on.
Yeah.
There might be something going on here. Sorry, Mum.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a great one. But anyway, who cares about Classic? Feel for the Keeper League coaches that had him, though, and couldn't replace him. I think the guy I was playing in Shiva had him. No, sorry, in my Dynasty League had him and couldn't do anything about it, so sucked in there, Macca. But anyway, Sam Banks, the first one I'll talk about. 93 points. He's playing on a wing. We all expect him to play halfback pre-season. Do you reckon this is just West Coast factor?
No, well, I thought he was behind the ball.
I don't know. I didn't watch the game at all, but he's been on the wing a fair bit this season.
Yeah, it felt to me watching that game that he was much more behind the ball, and that maybe was just filling that Jaden Short hole. But
okay, yeah, maybe that's what happened.
He's a player. Like he's going. I actually think he's better than Jaden Short. He's going to be a real talent for the Tigers, and hopefully they get some more games into him. Yeah,
all right, cool. If he's moved into that role in his absence, hopefully he can hold on to it. Seth Campbell, like seriously, these Richmond players, I know nothing about them. Like I just don't watch him at all, so I don't know anything about him. 2 goals,
he's
tip of the cap.
Probably wouldn't pick him in fantasy, but he's got a bit about him.
Yeah,
they're going to be a good side.
Even on the footy heads game, they come up and I just like, unless they're like a premiership player, like I don't know who they are. There's none of them. Jack Graham, I know who this guy is. 104 points. I guess he just showed up against his club. He'd be picked up in most leagues as a forward option anyway. Then on to West Coast. Jamie Cripps sees a tip of the cap with 3 goals. Wouldn't be going anywhere near that. Matt Flynn had 82 points. I'm just interested to see like what the ruck split looks like from now on, because if they're playing 2 rucks, again, they both scored reasonably well, 82 and 78. I think it's just that like might not have the ceiling if they're playing 2 of them in there. That's all.
Yep, have to agree with that.
Yeah. And then Brady Hoff, not scoring that well, but looked at the CBA numbers. He was the most used midfielder besides Flynn. At the CBAs. So they're obviously rating him as a midfielder to keep going with him. Hopefully they keep going.
Yeah, I don't think he's much of a midfielder watching him personally, but if they want to persist there, then good luck to him, and maybe it's one that you can take a punt on.
I don't know. Like none of those West Coast players actually score and get possessions or do anything. So, but he does look like one of their more composed players when he does have the ball. So maybe that's something there. On to the Geelong Cats versus GWS. I caught the last quarter of this, so probably the best quarter to watch of it. But Blitzarves, 116 points. Number one ruck because De Koning didn't actually go to a CBA. I think he did like defensive rucking work, but I don't even think he recorded a hit out though for the game. Now, if I think about the stats. So what do you think? Good for Blitzarves owner. Doesn't last long till Stanley comes back. What do you think? Stanley doesn't get a look in when he does come back?
I don't think Stanley's a guarantee to go back into that side. They've been pretty comfortable to play a Mark Blitzarves with some chop out in the past.
Has he got defender status this season?
I'm not sure.
I think he does, or is he ruck mid again?
I think he's probably just a defender, right?
Yeah,
I'd have to check, but. Mark Blitzarves, we know what he can do. When he's up and about, he's an 80-90 guy. So, he's going to be a big part of that Geelong sort of setup, I think.
I'll just look him up here so I can see what it is. Thought I looked at him. Defender mid.
Defender mid.
Yeah,
okay. Yep. So he won't be picking up that
won't be getting that ruck status unless you play the triple position in keeper, which is a thing.
Yes, I found out about that the other week.
Yeah. But, at the moment. And then we mentioned De Koning, 92 points. I just don't expect a ruck bump if he's going to be playing in defence there. Still scored 92 points. I think someone went out early.
Riccardi.
No, Riccardi was playing. The guy he got traded from Essendon. Stringer. Lost my brain there for a second. He went out of this game early. Might have just cleared up a hole for him to take a few extra marks and stuff like that. He's a good player though. He might have just won it on his merits too also, but just don't expect a 92 from a key defender each week. And then Ollie Dempsey, I guess he's run the rising star. I don't really need to talk about him. 91 points. Your mate Stengel, used to kick around with him back in the day.
Yep.
90 points, probably a tip of the cap there. Any interest in Mitch Duncan from the 79 points? If you were contending and you needed a D5, would you go nearer Mitch Duncan?
So his defender status, that would probably tip me over the edge. If he was a midfielder only, I think I'll just leave that one be. But I think you could do worse than a Mitch Duncan. I think his games is on about 297. So
pretty much once he hits 300, he's gone, right?
That's what I'm worried about. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're just gifting him some games to get him there because I think they're ready to move on from him. But look, you could do worse, I think, and maybe that 300 game we wind it back to a bit of old school Mitch Duncan. Yeah, and then Jesse Hogan for the GWS Giants. He wasn't too good for the podcast because he averaged only in the 70s last year, but when he kicks backs, he's too good to be on this podcast. He's got 133 points. He loves it. He loves the bags.
Yeah, exactly. In more ways than one. Anyway, North Melbourne. Luckily, no one listens to this podcast. It's fine. North Melbourne versus Brisbane. This was a cracking game as well. Probably game of the round if it was going by closeness of score.
Yeah.
Maybe not the skills.
Closeness of score, certainly. Yeah.
There's only tip of the caps in this game as well. So that's what I mean. Like this round kind of didn't really serve up too much in terms of like interesting fantasy points, but the big Chom had 82 points. Just took it. He took a great marks at the end. Actually, probably saved them the game a little bit.
Yeah, he was good.
A lot of those. Like I've been saying the last few weeks as well that they've got no key defenders only because they dropped Core and Logue, but it's pretty unfair on Chom. Like I know he does play like more of an interceptor tall role, but they're obviously going with him, and I think they brought Logue back in this week or Core.
So.
They brought one of them back in, so maybe the key forwards against. Actually, no, it did come true. My key forwards against North. I'd said Hipwood was in my streamers, and he scored okay as well. So, but yeah, Ryan Lester, 84 points. I'm never fielding him or drafting him, so that's a tip of the cap. Cam Rayner, I don't know. What do you think about him this season? Forward only, really. He's not really getting much midfield time. I don't know
what to think. Yeah, impact player, good player, but probably one I'm not interested.
If he kicks more than 2 goals, he probably scores an 80 for you, and that's about it.
He's like Zach Bailey. They're very similar players, I think.
Yeah, definitely. All right, there's only 3 questions that came through, so this will be a short, sharp, and shiny episode. We'll send you on your way, Lou. At Arn and Mikey wants to know, would you buy low on Chera after 2 down weeks? One hampered by the position change down back. Now, to look at this,
it's not looking good.
But was it circumstantial? Because I reckon he was in the midfield for the first quarter, and then when Cowan went down, he went back.
He's been thrown behind the ball for the best part of 6 weeks now.
Yeah, okay. I'm not watching that closely.
Yeah, I don't know what they're not liking about him in the midfield, because when he's in there, he looks fantastic, but... No, I'm a little bit worried on Chera. I'm not sure what he's doing there. If you could get him for a cheap price, I'd be vaguely interested. But I think he might just be a 90, 95 guy.
Do you reckon there's any chance they bring Doc back after he scored 160 in the twos and bring him back?
Well,
bring him back to the midfield?
I don't think we're going to see the end of Doc just yet. I think he's going to have a part to play in this season. So,
yeah, I don't know. I feel like they might, once they get a few less injuries to defenders and stuff like that, they might move him back into the midfield. But yeah, I don't know.
So Cripps Walsh and who's playing the third most CBAs? Hewitt.
Yeah.
Pretty tough to get into that midfield,
yeah, but
right?
I don't know. You can't play them all in every CBA. There should be at least 50% more to go around for him. So
well, yeah, but I don't know. It sounds like 50% CBAs to me.
Yeah, maybe.
Bit of a bench stint.
Yeah.
Bit behind the ball.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the roles there.
Yeah. At Mervling again, I don't know how to say that, sorry. Is Toby Conway ever going to play another game in the AFL? I think he's been put back to 2BC, TBC.
He's done. They're just going to bring in someone from another club, I think.
I think he did sign a 2-year deal not long ago, maybe a few weeks ago even. So maybe they do have faith. But yeah, they don't know when he's going to return at the moment. So
but how old is he? He's been on the list for at least 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's been able to string together how much?
I would have said 22, but I don't know. He could be older than that. When was he? I don't know. Toby, born in 2003. So what does that make him? 22. Yeah.
22. So he's still.
I think rucks don't blossom until they're 25.
Oh, he's still in the ballpark. But a lot of rucks sort of have plenty of footy under their belt before then, whereas his body and fitness keeps breaking down consistently. So
yeah.
Clearly has the talent, and when he's played AFL, he's looked okay. But
I'd be stashing in a deep league, like a dynasty league, yeah, but probably not worth in a shallower one. And Dirk's DT wants to know: is the poo really worth getting? I'm pretty sure he's talking about classic, but we'll answer it from a Keeper League perspective. Yes, the answer is yes.
Just talking about scat or something.
I don't know. yeah, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, let's wrap it up there. Thanks for joining us on the show, Lou. Where can listeners find you?
At AF Lew.
You keep changing it
on Twitter.
Yeah, no, I've only, had to think about it.
I haven't. I've changed it once.
Okay.
But I get it wrong each time on what enough. It actually is. So
AF
I just flop back and forth. But you'll find me on Twitter.
And hear you on the pod.
And you'll hear me on the pod too. So get around that. Recording after this actually. So
big night for you, mate. Well, thank you for giving up
It's a large night. It's been a large day. So
thank you for giving up your time. Really appreciate it. Get around to our stuff at Keeper League Pod on all the socials. If you want to support the podcast, please sign up and become a member. You'll get access to all of our bonus resources if you do that. And get on our Discord group as well. Join the community. Join the conversation. It's a great place to talk about your Keeper League teams and make yourself a silly username, and you can be completely anonymous from your league mates, so they won't give you too much shit on there, unlike the Facebook group. But anyways, we'll wrap it up from there. Thanks again, Lou.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me.
And we'll talk to you all soon.